Hey everyone, and welcome back to Social Audio Think Tank. Josh here. Welcome to the Flyersode. So today, Jackson and I, how you going, Jackson?
I'm going great, thanks, Josh.
We're going to be discussing recording on the fly with setups that we're not used to and getting that done last minute. So just for some background, and talking about background, I have a massive echo in this room, which is what I'll get to in a minute. Jackson and I were recording. And I know we have said before, when you batch recording, don't make reference to other episodes, but in this case, it actually is important. We were recording a couple of episodes, and Jackson's computer decided to die because the Australian summer has been violent, for the lack of a better term, this summer. And in the middle of recording, it all died. And because we're in two different places, we kind of do depend on at least both the computers working to be able to record. So I thought, well, I've been wanting to try a double ender, but a weird double ender, which I think is almost bomb proof. And it involves actually using the telephone so Jackson and I can hear each other and recording into our own setups at each end. So regarding on the fly, I had the idea halfway through Jackson trying to fix his computer, and then I rang him on the telephone about 10 seconds later and said, why don't we try this? So I'm going to try and describe something that may be a little bit visual, and then I'll let Jackson describe what he's doing. So I'm out in my lounge room, which I'm trying to sound treat at the moment, and I'm only halfway there. So it's much echoier than probably the last few episodes. I'm speaking into a microphone I'm just testing at the moment, so I'm not even sure if it suits my voice yet. The Shure SM7B. That's going into a CL1 cloud lifter, which is a clean gain boost because this mic needs lots more gain than my other mics. I'm going into a desk that is relatively new, like a mixing desk, a Mackie Onyx 1220i. A Mackie Onyx 1220i, which is really, really great. But I'm still not completely familiar with that. And that's getting run out into my Roland R-05. So even though I've got a Zoom H5 now, I'm kind of keeping that more for mobile recordings and recording really quick things. And I don't want to waste two lots of battery. So I've got the Roland permanently set up with the Mackie desk. And I'm speaking into the telephone so Jackson can hear me. So at the moment, I've got a microphone in my face and a telephone in my ear. So I know when Jackson goes to speak that I'm not going to talk over him. Ideally, obviously, you wouldn't have the phone there because if he speaks, my mic might actually pick that up. But because this is the On the Flyersode or the Flyersode, and Social Audio Think Tank does tend to fall apart sometimes, and that's why this show exists, to help people sort that out. We're basically doing rigs that are probably even more reliable because we've basically cut out the computer altogether. And as long as we have mobile phone reception, it's basically bomb-proof. A few things I've already worked out is that I can monitor my levels quite easily. Hopefully it sounds good. As I said, unfamiliar with the mic, not so familiar yet with the desk. And I'm speaking into a telephone, which is awkward. It's not going to sound like our normal episodes. As I said, I'm in a different area of my house. I've got this echo that I haven't managed to deal with yet. But I think the key is, if your audience wants something from you and you know what you want to talk about is really awesome, if you can get anything to work that is of professional standard or better than crap, then you should still do it. So I'm going to let Jackson talk about his rig from his end and how he's communicating back to me and all those things. And then we'll go into maybe why we think having an idea of a backup rig like this that's more reliable in a way than using computers is a good idea. So, Jackson, did you just want to tell the listeners what you're using to get this done? And maybe a quick background on why we're doing it, because your computer basically crapped itself, from what I can tell.
Yeah, well, I might try and actually take a picture of what I'm doing right now because it looks more than a little bit ridiculous, I'd say. I've got my AT2005 running through the XLR into my Zoom H6, and I've also got in my other hand I've got my phone pointed at my face, and so I've got my earbuds coming out of my phone so I can hear you, and then also coming out of my Zoom 6, I've got another set of headphones on top of the earbuds so that I can hear myself, which looks really strange and feels really strange. I'm just holding my phone and my microphone pointed at my face because I don't have a mic stand with me. This is not an ideal setup by any means whatsoever, but it's necessarily because my computer just couldn't handle. I don't know what happened to it. I think it overheated. I was resting it on top of a pillow, and I could hear the fans buzzing away quite quickly. But that's usual. That's how it goes. And it overheated, and Audacity just crashed, and then didn't recognize my AT2005 through the USB interface anymore. So we had to abandon the computer and go to the most basic setup just to get something recorded, and it works. It's not, but yeah, like I said, it's not ideal.
No, it's a funny one because from a pure sound point of view, if I was able to finish what I was trying to do to my room here, because I've got a desk, and the reason I've got the bigger setup is because I'm basically going to have more in-person guests once I get the proper sound treatment done to this area of my house. It really should, in a way, sound just as good or better, because we've taken computers and that cycling the computers do and all that stuff completely out of the equation, and we're using as good a quality microphones through nice preamps, and we're, it should sound great in the finished product, but there's going to be a slight awkwardness because Jackson and I can't laugh, and you're not going to pick up as the audience on some of the things that make the show sound natural. But from a sound point of view, I think it's going to sound great. I don't know about Jackson not having a mic stand. I'm not sure if I've met an audio engineer without a mic stand. So
that's one of those things I think we should add to another mistake episode. Not having the right equipment when you need it.
Yeah. And I guess why we're calling this the on the fly or the fly episode, but about on the fly recording. If you really need to get something done and you feel like what you want to talk about is worth talking about, then you still should do it. And I think it's always a good idea to have some idea in the back of your mind of what are we going to do if it's a co-hosted show, particularly if you're on, in two different locations. It makes it even tougher. How are we going to make this happen where the quality is not going to completely fall off a cliff and not be releasable? So hopefully this is releasable and slightly more awkward, I would say, than a normal episode of Social Audio Think Tank, but I think it's going to sound good. And just to run through my rig once again, I'm talking into an iPhone 6 Plus. I've turned off basically every kind of noise and sound and alarm and vibration thing I can, so none of that goes off, because I'm actually holding the phone to my ear, because I actually only have one set of headphones at the moment that are working well, Sony MDR 7506s, but they're basically, how with certain headphones you can turn one 180 degrees sort of thing, and it kind of becomes one ear's covered and one ear's not covered. You can't do that with the Sonys, which you can with some of the Audio Technicas, which is probably why, in an extreme case, why it's useful to have a set of headphones where you can actually turn the earpieces in case you need to actually run a set of earbuds into one of your ears like I am now. But I'm actually monitoring today with a set of Apple earbuds, which is not really a great indication of, I've got the SM7B through a cloud lifter into a nice desk and into the Roland. And then you're basically running thousands of dollars worth of equipment into a set of, even at retail, these things only cost $30 in Australia. So I'm probably not getting a great representation of anything that's going on. But because my normal headphones, I wouldn't be able to actually have the phone against my head. For Jackson to be able to hear me, I had to do it this way. So what's been the most complicated thing for you from your end, Jackson? So just to refresh my memory, you're going handheld AT 2005 Audio Technica via XLR straight into your Zoom recorder.
Yeah.
You're monitoring with one set of Apple earbuds off the recorder.
Yeah.
And you're monitoring the phone through another set of Apple earbuds. Is that how it's working?
Oh no, I've got a pair of over-ear headphones, so there's literally the over-ears are on top of the in-ear earbuds.
Wow. That's exactly what I was trying to avoid doing. That's basically what I was saying I didn't want to have to do. Because you know what I'm talking about when you can turn a certain earpiece on
Yeah.
a set of Audio-Technica headphones or the higher-end headphones and turn it into a one-ear set. That is pretty cool. And it's something that I never thought I would need that feature until today, where it would be really handy. So if you have the option of buying a good set of headphones where you can actually manipulate the earpieces for when things get fucked, like today, it might actually be really handy. So what are we going to do going forward, do you think, Jackson, as far as if your computer's out of action for, a week or however long it takes to fix the problem? Can you think of a better way of doing what we're doing now without computers?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I have just realized, I can't speak for your end, but I've just realized that I once bought myself a little splitter cable that allows me to split the iPhone audio jack into a separate headphone output and a microphone input. And my Zoom has a line out. So if I'm really clever, I can find that cable and take the input from the Zoom and put it into the phone, so you can hear it the same as what's being recorded, and then I can just monitor through my phone and I'll hear everything as normal.
Excellent. That's a pretty good idea.
Doesn't really help you that much, but it'd be great for me if I can do that.
Yeah. I guess for me at this end, I just need to fix the sound up in this room, and that's a completely separate issue, but I guess for me the only thing that's awkward today is that I couldn't quickly find a second set of Apple earbuds to be able to not hold the phone up against my head. And it's not a sound problem. It's more just I need to make sure that I'm holding the phone in one spot so Jackson can hear me at an even volume while I'm actually talking directly at the Shure microphone, because it's a very directional microphone. I can't go off axis. I can move my head around. I need to make sure I'm really on this mic. And it's going to be hard for Jackson to hear me if I'm, if I put the phone down on the desk or something. Whereas if I had the extra set of earbuds, I'd be able to use that with the little microphone and you'd be able to hear me and I wouldn't be quite as stuck in one spot and it'd be more comfortable. But there's no way that I could use this setup now because it's kind of uncomfortable for doing a really long podcast. Luckily, our show's not very long, so...
Yeah, that would get pretty annoying holding the phone up to your ear for too long.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say a few things about what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do Adobe Audition, which I've used to post-produce the last few episodes. I've experimented with compression, no compression, different levels and all kinds of stuff, different levels of the de-esser, so to take the real harsh S's out of my voice particularly. I'm basically going to do a de-esser today. Just the preset male voice de-esser is working quite well in Adobe Audition, but I'm also going to do a bass cut because I've got an air conditioner on here at the moment on low because I'm in an area of the house that is way hotter than where we were previously recording before Jackson's computer died. So I'm going to have to cut out more noise than I normally would and more rumbly kind of noise. So I'm going to do an 80 decibel bass cut. So everything below 80 dB. I said decibel, that's probably not correct. 80 dB. I'm going to just cut that out altogether. So is there anything you're going to do to your end processing-wise before you send it to me, Jackson, for the double ender?
No, I'll send you the raw recording, but I'm going to have to figure out my space as well because I've just discovered that I'm picking up some weird hum depending in which way I point the microphone. It should be all right now, but if I point it 2 degrees one way or the other, there's a really massive hum coming through. So I think before we record any more episodes, we've both got some work to do.
Cool, mate. Well, that might do for today. And, well, thank you to the listener if you stuck this one out because it was basically just us geeking out about gear and complaining about shit breaking. So, cool, Jackson. Well, at Joshua C. Liston for me on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and Joshua C. Liston at gmail.com if you want to send an email with a technical question or any other kind of question for us to answer for you on the show.
And you can send them to me as well. I'm at GX Jackson on Twitter.
At GX Jackson on Twitter for Jackson. Okay, mate. Well, it was good to talk to you. And I guess there'll be a distinct amount of... it's going to be unavoidable. Someone out there is going to be trying to compare the quality of sound between your rig and my rig. But, I've got a more expensive mic and a cheaper recorder. and I'm using a desk and you're not, and I've got a clean gain boost and you don't, and you're using a more expensive recorder with nicer preamps, so there probably isn't going to be a great deal of difference between our sounds. But as I said, I'll do a bass cut, a de-esser, which I have been doing normally, but I'll also, and where I was going with that and I forgot, was I'll be running each person's, mine and Jackson's, recordings actually through the noise reduction in Auphonic before I actually do any mixing or anything. Normally Auphonic's intelligent enough. I'm talking about the Auphonic app. Go and Google that. Our show's probably not long enough to talk about all the features in Auphonic, so that I'll be running each of our chat basically just to reduce some noise first and get our levels in the ballpark with each other. So I wouldn't normally do that first, but I will before I even start editing this one. So cool, and we'll see you later.
See you later, Josh.